Our website is gizapower.com. One of the things, well, first of all, I'd like to mention my first book, the Giza Power Plant, and it would be great if eventually I could come back and share some updated information on that. Some of you may know of that particular book. But I'm here today to talk about Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt, which was published in 2010, and that I think actually seals the deal in terms of proving without a shadow of a doubt the sophistication and the possible technologies that the ancient Egyptians enjoyed. But what I would like to say, I'd like to ask a question, because that is essentially as my path through life, and especially with my research, has been one of questioning the origins of the soul, where we come from, where we're going, why we're here, all those questions that everybody asks during the course of their life. During the course of my research with the pyramids, and particularly the lost technologies of ancient Egypt, one of the greatest mysteries to me is the fact that over the lifetime of the Egyptian civilization, from the start of the building of the pyramids to the demise, so you're looking at a 3,000-year period, that over that 3,000 years, the ancient Egyptians did not improve their tools one bit. They started out with copper implements, stone balls, wooden mallets, stone chisels, and then that's how they built the pyramid. That's what you'll be told. And then as in the demise, if we go to the 18th dynasty and you go down to the Serapeum, you'll find artifacts that I still claim were cut using those simple tools. Anyway, the evidence, as you will see, actually shows something entirely different. Even just studying the Great Pyramid, you get the picture that there was something incredible going on. But as you get into the temples, and which is what I started to do in 2004, I'll tell you how that came about briefly. When I first went to Egypt, it was 1986, and I wasn't necessarily interested in religion or spirituality per se. I was there to do engineering and engineering research, so I was more focused on the pyramids rather than their temples and religion, things of that nature. But in 2004, that started to change. Actually, it started to change in 1999, which is a separate story that I can't really get into right now. But in 2004 was the first time since I started researching ancient Egypt, which I started in 1977. I had my first article published in 1984. But for the first time, I went to the temples, and that was in 2004. Well, it's interesting that, Egypt has something for background, your expertise, your point of view. There's always something for you to enjoy, to learn. And for me, as a practical engineer, I started out as a craftsman and then became a manufacturing engineer. I managed a laser job shop in Indianapolis. I've been through the whole list of trades that would actually elevated me to my current position as a manager in an aerospace manufacturing company. But my perspective is one of how things are actually made in a practical way. And I didn't think that the temples would have anything to teach me. Boy, was I wrong. All the genius that the ancient Egyptians manifested in Cairo, on the Giza Plateau with the pyramids, is actually, it's on steroids when you go to the temples. The simple geometries that you have with the pyramid blocks, even though they're very precise and large, and to assemble the pyramids would be quite difficult, the geometries are quite simple. When you go to the temples, though, the geometry, the surfacing of the statues is very complex, but also it's very organized and very precise. So in 2004, when I was going through the Luxor temple, I kind of left the group. They were studying the glyphs on the wall, the hieroglyphs, and the Egyptologist was telling the history of Egypt. But something caught my eye in the corner, and that was the crowns of Ramses that were sitting at the feet of the Ramses statues in the Ramses Hall. And those crowns caught my eye because they seemed to have a quality about them that was very unusual to me. I went up to them. I was able to actually feel them, run my hands over them because they're actually at ground level. And but one of the things that I noted was that they seemed to be extraordinarily precise. But my question was, how precise would they be? And so at that time, in 2004, the digital photography had advanced to the level where in manufacturing it was being employed to actually measure surfaces to determine geometry, determine precision, and compare a manufactured item to a computer model. And so one of the things about precision and geometry is if you have an object that you are creating today in a machine shop or in an engineering company, and it is symmetrical, you would only need to actually generate one surface in the computer, then you would mirror image it to create the other surface. And I noticed Barbara's nodding her head there. She's worked in the machine shop for many years. But that kind of technique, obviously, is common. I mean, and it's just logical and it makes sense. So the thought in my mind, well, it's if my intuition, or as I'm feeling the surface of the crown, if it is that precise and it does look like it's symmetrical, then I should be able to actually take a photograph, making sure that I was on the central axis of it, import it into my graphics program, make a copy of the original, flip it, and then make a transparency of that and bring the two together to see if one side matches the other. So that's what I did with this one, and you'll see that there is a shadow around the outside, and that the shadow is there so that you can actually see that there are two images one imposed on the other. And you can actually measure the distance of that shadow. But then when you bring the images together completely, then you see that there is a high precision on a very, very a very complex surface. It's not a flat surface. It's a complex surface. So what we have is a condition where just the tools to accomplish that, if you ignore what it would take to cut the material and say, okay, they did this using hand tools, they did it using copper chisels or stone chisels, whatever, you still have a range of instruments that would be necessary to create this. And those are metrology instruments, because you can't achieve this kind of perfection without some way to measure it.